So am I dignified looking? Do I look like I know what I'm talking about?
Well, here's the thing, though. I feel like artists, we have to look schlubby to be trusted.
That's true.
So you're almost like too polished. You're almost like Travis Barnhart. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, for donating your time and your talent, and I was about to say your summer, but then I remembered it's October. So first of all, if you don't mind just kind of introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, some of your background, whatever you think is necessary.
So my name is Travis Barnhart. I am an actor in Chicago, and I've been living there since 2010. And I feel like, like a lot of actors in Chicago, I've done a little bit of everything, sketch comedy, serious dramatic plays and classical plays. I have got the opportunity to work with a lot of different companies throughout Chicago and understudied for a lot. My day job is working at Stage 773, where I'm the director of operations. So I'm just an actor about town. I've been working with a group called Hobo Junction for a long time. Done a few different productions with a theater company called New Colony. And then also, have been an ensemble member on a few different theaters who are no longer with us, most of them, as they kind of tend to come and go, sadly.
Especially when there's a global pandemic.
Yeah, and right now, because there is a global pandemic, there is no theater going on. I am on furlough from my job, and I'm currently in southeast Oklahoma, a small town called Valiant, Oklahoma. I was talking to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, nothing is happening in Chicago, and I don't think anything will until 2021. So I've got lots of free time on my hands." And my dad was like, "Well, son, every October, I go on a hunting trip to Montana." And I was like, "Really, Dad?" And he said, "Yes, so you can come to Oklahoma and take care of all of my animals while I'm away." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds like fun." So that's where I am currently, kind of waiting out COVID.
Excellent. Awesome. Let's see here. We have somebody joining us in the room. 1 second. There we go. Perfect. So you mentioned that you work for a company called Stage 773. That is a theater located in Chicago, correct?
That's right. Yeah. We are on Belmont, just west of the Belmont Red Line station. And in case you're not familiar, we have 4 different theater spaces, all inside the same building. A couple of the spaces seat about 150, and then 2 others seat around 75. We do a little bit of everything there. Like our claim to fame is the Sketch Comedy Festival, which we do every January, and we've been doing that this would have been our 20th year doing that festival. And then
wow.
there are theater companies that do. American Blues is an itinerant company there, and we do all sorts of plays, musicals. There's magic shows, burlesque. I mean, I feel like in the 5 years that I've worked there has been, anything that is live performance, I have seen. Stand-up comedy, that's something I didn't mention. Just about everything that happens on stage, I've seen over the years, including like shows where there's aerialists and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that come down the pike, and I think working there, that's the most fun about it. Within a given year, there's it never stays the same, which I love that about it.
You get kind of the behind the scenes action of working in theater, and then you get the onstage action from working in theater. So it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you realized that you wanted to become an actor, and then what were your first steps in terms of pursuing acting?
I think one of the things that made me want to be an actor was being obsessed with movies when I was a little kid. And I think the movie, I think, gosh, there's some other actors that I've heard, talk about watching Goodfellas for the first time. And like, I don't know. And I think one of the reasons why that movie made me want to be an actor was because I was so little, and we had just like shelves and shelves and shelves of those like 8-hour VHS tapes. And we would go to the rental place, when you rented VHS tapes, and we would watch the movie at night as a family. I don't remember watching Goodfellas like with my parents, but
A warm family film.
yeah, right. But we would watch the movie, and if we liked it overnight, we had the two VCRs set up, and we would record it, take that movie back to the rental place on the way back home, get another movie, record another one. It was like I just remember shelves and shelves and shelves of these VHS tapes that had like 3 movies each on them. And I remember not being old enough to read, but knew how to how to work the VCR now. And so I watched tons and tons of movies. And then I was older. I could read by the time I watched Goodfellas for the first time, but I put the VHS in, and I remember very distinctly the opening scene of watching that for the first time, like these guys driving, in the car, it's late at night, Ray Liotta's driving, and there's the thump, thump, thump in the back of the truck, and Joe Pesci's like, what the fuck fuck is this? The fuck. And I was like, oh my God, these people are bad. I know they're bad because they're saying fuck with so much, like so nonchalantly. And I didn't even know curse words could be strung together like a string of pearls like that. I was like, wow. And so Ray Liotta pulls the car over. They open the trunk. There's the bloody guy. They shoot him. They stab him. Ray Liotta shuts the trunk, and the camera zooms in on his face, and he's like, all my life I wanted to be a wise guy. And then from there on, the movie, I remember watching it, and I'd watched like Freddy Krueger and things like that were supposed to be scary movies. And I remember watching Goodfellas and being really scared, like really, like what's going to happen next. And so entranced by that movie that I couldn't get over it. Like I thought it was so cool. I never wanted to be one of those people in real life, but I wanted to play them.
Oh gosh, I wish I'd learned that lesson when I thought I wanted to be a CSI for like 2.5 years, and then I learned that I just wanted to be on the show CSI. Did some real weird stuff in between then. So I wish I had learned your lesson. So you decide you want to become an actor. You're inspired, right? What great movie to inspire you? Because sometimes people tell me the movies that inspired them to become actors, and I'm like, that one? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say that being a comedian. What do we even do? But so what were your first, like, I don't want to say real steps, but what were the first major steps you took towards becoming an actor? So I'm guessing probably started with theater in school, maybe.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say. I was gonna say one Goodfellas, and then in a Christmas pageant where I played a little bitty Elvis, and I remember like getting up and doing like a shimmy thing, and being so dreadfully nervous. But the audience went nuts. They went crazy because a little boy trying to do an Elvis thing is just like inherently cute, I guess. And anyway, so I think that hooked me on the attention. I realized that I really truly loved attention. And then and I remember like getting to high school, and it was like, choose your electives. And like the first thing was speech and drama, and there was only 1 hour that was available, and everything else had to fit around me getting in that class. And we did like one play a year, and I would get cast in it, and most of our set was furniture borrowed from the principal's office. So we didn't have the most highbrow, the best drama department at Valiant High School, but I I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm about to graduate high school, and I'm going to tell my parents that what I want to do is go to college and get a degree in theater. And I was, oh man, I dreaded it so bad. I knew they were going to try to talk me out of it, all of that stuff. And I just told them, I was like, look, I have really racked my brain about what other thing I would want to do. And I could probably settle for something. I could probably find something that would be more practical. But I think that if I spend 4 years studying that thing and then go and do it and I don't try this, I think I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So they understood. I luckily, I think one of the things that helped them encourage me a little bit, or not worry so much, is that I had a scholarship to a school, and I knew that they were small, Southeastern Oklahoma State University, small regional state school, but for that had a very good theater department, and still after all these years, the education that I received there, like for the cost of the education, for what I got out of it, like it was a really good value for my dollar.
Okay.
And
so
they
you
also
would
had, oh, go ahead.
continue.
Sorry.
No, continue. Yeah, continue.
They had Oklahoma Shakespearean Festival there in the summers, so I knew I could, do the theater program during the school year, and then every summer do professional theater with Oklahoma Shakes. And so I was like, I'm in. And so off to college I went, and that was a blast. I had a wonderful time. Like I say, I wouldn't, I kind of wanted to like start here and then go to a bigger university and all that stuff. But I'm glad I stayed. And it was college and then 2 years of touring theater and summer stock, which finally landed me in Chicago in 2010, and then it's all been all Chicago stuff since then.
So if somebody's watching this and they want to become an actor and they're young, let's say they're out of high school, would you recommend that they pursue theater in college? Like you're saying no regrets towards that they should go for a theater degree?
I think that is a very individual question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's any blanket answer for that really works. For me, the reason why I was like, I've got to go to college is because I grew up in a town with a population of 770.
Right.
And
that's like smaller than my graduating class in high school.
And I knew damn well that if I just like tried to pick up and move to New York or LA, say, those cities would eat me alive. Like I knew nothing about the business. Like I feel like if I would have showed up to my first audition out of high school, I wouldn't have known what a headshot and resume really was, what it was supposed to look like. And not to mention just the sheer culture shock. There's no way I would have survived. I would have moved to those places and moved back to my hometown within a year. I have no doubt. So I knew I needed to work my way up in degrees, and also, while I was nervous about fessing up about this to my parents, I knew I needed their support. And the only way, and like if I would have told them, like, I'm going to the big city, I'm going to New York, kiss it goodbye, mwah. If I had done that, they'd been like, all right, see you later.
We'll keep your room prepared for you whenever you decide to come back.
Yeah, when you need bus fare back, well, just give us a call, and that would have been their attitude. So it was the right choice for me. But say, if I grew up in a place that had theater or had comedy clubs or any of those places, I would maybe suggest, like, and you don't think you want to go to college, you're not the type of person that like likes class and and is going to show up to class, then take a year off and do it on your own and see what happens. Maybe you don't need college.
Yeah. I've noticed a really common theme between the people I've been interviewing for these and just people I know in general and my personal life, and I know for my brother. I've noticed a common theme is in all of these stories, when people decided for sure that's what they wanted to do, they took it very seriously and they did what they could locally very seriously. And they showed basically mom and dad that this isn't something I'm joking about. This isn't one more thing I'm going to try for 6 months and then not do anymore. So I've noticed there's definitely this pattern of whenever you decide, first of all, come to a decision, right? Don't just think, maybe I'll just uproot my whole life and move across the country to become an actor, but I've never done it before. I've noticed there's a pattern of start local, do what you can locally, kind of get some reps in a little bit, see whether or not you like it, take it very seriously, prove to the people who are basically going to be helping you pay for whatever it is you decide to do, prove to them, right, that you are taking this very seriously, and then go from there. It doesn't, the arts, I don't think, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, they're not something that you just wake up one day and you're like, well, I'm just going to do it and then move across the country, because that's not sustainable, as opposed to I've done everything I can locally. I'm a plant that's basically outgrowing this pot. Now what's the next thing? Whether that's college, whether that's moving somewhere. Which kind of leads me to my next question. Would you recommend, if somebody, say for example, somebody's watching this and they're like 25, 26, they've already been to college, they've already graduated high school, right? But they've always wanted to be an actor, but it's kind of too late to go back and get a degree in theater. Do you believe it is necessary to move to a larger city to succeed as an actor? Or do you believe there are means to do so, like in small local areas? In your opinion?
If you're trying to make a living performing and that's it, you don't necessarily have to live in a large city, but I don't think you're going to be spending a lot of time in the town that you are in. I think you're going to be, if the goal is to make your income performing on stage, you're either going to have to move to a larger market or just be prepared to spend a lot of your time on the road.
Got it. You mentioned earlier, you mentioned headshots and you mentioned a resume. Tell us a little bit about what that means in terms of an actor, right? Like, I know everybody knows what a resume is, but for example, what do you do when you don't necessarily have a resume right now as a beginning actor? And then what are headshots? What are some headshot tips you have? Things like that.
That is tough. It's like, I think it's with every job, it's that catch-22 of like, I can't get the gig until I have experience, and I can't get experience until I get a gig.
Yeah. Everybody wants the guy with 10 years experience, but
right.
How do you get the experience?
And that is where, like you're talking about, that starting out locally thing, that's where it all begins. You can be in the community theater play with essentially nothing on your resume. You can volunteer your time, get to know the people, show up to the audition, and your resume is not going to have a ton on it to get in that community theater show, to get in your high school. I don't think I gave my high school drama teacher a resume when I auditioned, but then all throughout college, everything on the formality of presenting the resume and the headshot was there, and everything on it was from high school, or or a student directed play that we did. And then for a long time, and that was really handy. I would suggest, if you were going to go to university to study theater, do your college plays, and then in the summer, I would strongly recommend trying to do some sort of summer stock or whatever, because it's really nice when you get out of school to have, all that collegiate stuff and a little bit of professional theater as well on there. And I remember moving to Chicago at first. I had a little bit of Oklahoma Shakes on there and some some touring children's theater.
That sounds like a drug problem. Oh, it's this guy. He's got the Oklahoma
Shakes. It's the Oklahoma Shakes.
That's what, I didn't know what you were talking about for like one second. Oklahoma Shakespeare.
Oh man, yeah, the DTs can be so hard. But anyway, I remember putting out my resume to a lot of, just looking online, finding the posting, submitting the resume, and not getting time slots. And I was like, what the fuck?
Time slots to audition?
Yeah. No one was scheduling to see me. But I was being very exclusive. I was only, I was submitting to equity theaters. I was submitting to, more established theaters and places that, said on the posting that they paid whatever. And no one was responding to my submissions. And I realized that, the collegiate stuff, I knew that would not impress them. And then a lot of the theater companies that I'd worked with between college and moving to Chicago were places that these directors, producers, they hadn't heard of. So it wasn't like there wasn't anything on my resume that was really turning any heads. And so I stopped with any pretense of who I'm going to submit to and who I'm not, and just started submitting to anything and everything that I fit the bill for, that I was the right type for. And people started responding to me, and I started getting auditions, and I started getting cast, and that snowballed. So really, you just have to keep knocking on doors. You just have to keep trying. You might have to lower your standards and do some stuff. Some stuff for free and
we'll be talking about that in a second for sure. For sure.
And just whatever you can do to get some stuff on your resume. It's all about, in the end, what you were looking for in the beginning is just experience. You're just looking for those reps, the ability to get on stage in front of the audience. And As long as you can fulfill that, it doesn't really matter. And then there are going to be bad experienes through that. There's going to be tough shows. But,
we will absolutely circle back to that. I have three, before we get there, before we sip on the real tea, I have three terms that you've mentioned in your explanations, and I would just like some quick definitions for people who may not know what these terms mean. Okay. So the terms are summer stock, equity, and non-equity.
Okay. So summer stock usually is so they're usually regional, but not necessarily, meaning they're not in regional, meaning they're not in one of the big markets, New York, Chicago, LA. And what they do is some summer stock theaters run shows in repertory, and meaning that they will have 3 shows that are running simultaneously. So on a given weekend, you're going to do, Taming of the Shrew on Thursday, Oklahoma on Friday, and then Sunday is going to be, is going to be Merchant of Venice or something like that. If Oklahoma Shakespearean Festival, for instance, was a summer stock theater company, and that is the idea behind that, is to keep those shows rotating so the audience has as much opportunity as possible to to come and see the shows. It's all crammed into about 9 weeks. So you're doing 3 shows in 9 weeks, very
Wow.
short season. And every weekend we do all of the shows. It works well for small communities, especially because there's just not enough people that we need to do one show for 4 or 5 weeks. But for the actors, I'll say this: summer stock is great experience. It's a ton of fun. It is back-breaking work. All of those sets have to be, and most of the time, the way they work, you're going to be acting, you're going to be building sets, you're going to be building costumes, you're going to be part of the crew that changes over that set. So you will work in the shop and rehearse at literally like 60-hour weeks. And then when the show opens, you get a little bit of a break, but you're going to do Taming of the Shrew on Thursday, and when that show ends and the audience leaves, the actors stick around and you flip that set. Now the Taming of the Shrew set has to become the Cinderella set or whatever it's going to become.
Wow.
And so then you get off work. You get off work at midnight and you come back the next night, you do the other show, and then you do the same thing. You switch that over. And so, usually you're going to be cast. Most people are cast pretty well in 1 or 2, and then they're like spear carrier number 3 in like Merchant of Venice or whatever.
It's probably a blessing though when you say like they would probably drop dead if they were the lead in all 3 or something.
I find that really difficult. Like I remember being in Merchant of Venice, and it was the courtroom scene, and I was a magistrate, and the magistrate just sits there and acts interested, and is very, oh my goodness, he's gonna cut off a pound of flesh, and
not
and
a pound.
Yeah, a whole pound. You have to act interested in that and be scenery and stand for a very long scene. I think that is where you really earn your stripes as an actor,
Right.
Just going through that grueling type of stuff. So that's
right.
That's summer stock.
And it's like, I feel like acting is very similar to, I feel like, comedy or many other arts where your true character and your true ability comes out in the parts that you're not the star. Everybody thinks like, oh, to get gigs and to get attention, I have to be the star. When really what people who that matters to, whether they're producers and directors, I think they look for the people who have a good attitude when they have no lines, or who have a very expressive face when they don't have a line, or who can be in the background and be an extra and not try to steal the show or overact. I tell people all the time, I've made more money off of free comedy shows than I've made off of paid ones, because people book you for the paid stuff based on how well you do for the unpaid stuff. And so I think you're right. Like with the whole earning your stripes thing, I think showing what you can do when you're not the center of attention and when you're not trying to be the big name on stage proves a lot more what you're like to work with and what kind of character you have as a person than if you were Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I think it was Carol Burnett said, I'm not in the chorus because I'm not good enough to be in the chorus. And like honestly, that's true. I remember like one of the toughest roles I've ever played was being the photographer on the ship in Anything Goes.
In Titanic.
And, yeah, it's like we're going down, 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 down. Yeah. But yeah, it was like, Anything Goes, or big, like cheesy, glitzy, golden age Broadway musical. Not really my cup of tea anyway. And we're all on the ship, and it's like really broad. Like we're supposed to be like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And I felt like such a cheese dick. I really had no idea like how to sell this. and then I was just like, oh, I know, I'll just pump it up to 11 and be like, whoa, I'm in a musical. And then my director was like, I feel like you're just fucking around up there. And I was like, I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. I
Yes,
don't know.
sir? Question mark. I don't know how to answer this.
So it was like I mean, honestly, like that background work from time to time, it's like you got to nail it and know how and where to direct the audience's eye, not steal focus, give focus. And you got to be like very generous and like, because it takes a lot of energy to give that, to be that focused when you don't get any of the reward.
No
You don't get the
payoff.
applause.
Yeah.
You don't get the big note. You don't get the laughter. You're there to support, and that is, it takes a big team to do that, and it can be thankless, and it can be tough.
Tell us about, what does equity mean and non-equity, and then I've got some questions for you related to Awful Place.
Okay. Equity is just an actors union. So it has, like any union, it has lots of rules that go with it. For instance, when you go to an equity general, or if you go to an equity general audition, equity members, these are people who have earned, at this point, I believe it is, you have to have 25 points in order to be able to join equity. You typically get a point a week for each equity show that you're in. So you get cast in an equity show. It's 9 weeks. By the time that show is done, you have earned yourself 9 equity points.
And you have to have how many?
And in order to be able to join, you have to have 25.
And then who controls these points? Like, who do you submit them somewhere?
If you are non-equity and cast in an equity show, it is up to the producer, the director, to submit to equity. I have this actor. They're non-equity. They are, and when you first get cast in an equity show, you have to buy your EMC membership, which stands for Equity Membership Candidate, which I believe back when I got my EMC card, it was $100. So you pay you get cast in this show, and you pay $100 to become EMC, and then you start earning points, and they keep track of each equity show that you're in, that's a member of the union, and they continue to track that. And at 25, after you've done 25 weeks of equity shows, you are eligible to join. You are not forced to join. I will say I don't know exactly what it costs to join equity right now. I think it's
the $100 doesn't cover it.
No, that's just to get into EMC.
Damn.
Yeah. Now but I think then once you have 25 points, you are eligible to join, and I think it's like $2,000 or $2,500 to join equity. Once you get to 50 points and you've done 50 weeks of equity shows, you are must join, which means you cannot do another week of equity work until you pay your dues and join the union.
So you can do as many non-equity shows as you want. You can still do like theater every other day if you want to. It just can't be equity.
Exactly. It can't be at a theater that is a member of the union.
So equity is basically Screen Actors Guild for stage, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Like the SAG membership. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
So just to kind of go over a little bit of what you've talked about, you mentioned kind of getting reps in locally if you've never done anything before, right? Or if you're beyond being able to go to college and study theater, or if you're out of high school so you can't start there. Start locally, get your reps in, right? Decide how serious you are about it. Then consider traveling with theater, right? With these summer stock programs, or getting some kind of reps in outside of your own city, and then potentially moving to a bigger city if you feel that you're kind of ready, you know what your voice is, you know who you are as an actor. And then you can do shows that are non-equity if you want, which just means you're not earning points towards the membership. And then you can do shows that are equity, where you can earn points for the membership if you want. You mentioned finding opportunities online, right? Are there websites for this? Facebook groups all over the place?
Yeah, it's all over the place. In any particular region, it would be tough to say, what the best resource for those folks would be. I would say, backstage.com is a good resource. Definitely check out Facebook for anything, that is, actors who are on Facebook that you may know. Go and see the shows that are being produced and being made in anywhere in your community, and get involved in that theater. And I honestly believe the best, and I know that this is something that a lot of people hate to hear, I think, but it's not what you know, it's who you know, that old adage.
Yeah, networking is everything in the arts.
It's everything.
In general, I feel like is kind of everything. Whether you're in PR, marketing, networking is kind of everything.
Go to the shows and find out where those people hang out, and walk up and introduce yourself.
I was gonna say, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, show them your face and walk up and introduce yourself. And then, even if you're not the best at schmoozing, you're not the best at networking, between your headshot and your actual physical presence, put your face in front of them as many times as you possibly can.
Yes.
And that's the best strategy that I can tell you to use.
And also be yourself, I think, is important. I know that sounds corny, but some of the best performers I've ever booked have been people who made the worst first impression. They were sweating and they were nervous and when you shake their hand, it's damp, but they were so charming and they were so authentic and they were so eager that I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this person 5 minutes, see what they can do. Sure. Or even just an audition opportunity and see what they can do. Headshots. We've talked about headshots a couple times. Literally just a picture of your face, right? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important it is to have a headshot that looks like you?
Oh,
it's not photoshopped of the gods.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
Right. I'm just saying this because I know a lot of people will take their best Instagram photo, which has been face tuned or whatever, and they'll be like, I'll just print this. And you're like, if it's, girl, guy, if it looks like you or if it doesn't.
I've been complimented several times, oh my God, this headshot actually looks like you. Yep. And people find that super refreshing because we live in an age where everybody has Photoshop, everybody has filters, back in the day, black and white did a lot of favors for folks. I really feel like, but now, it does you absolutely no good if the picture is old and you are 20 pounds heavier or lighter than if you're not. I had a picture, I'm bald, and I had a headshot. I was really a broke actor there for a while, then couldn't afford new headshots, and my hair was thinning in the headshot, but it was not cue ball like it is today. And I just people were like, what the hell, dude?
Yep.
And I had to face the music and be like, okay, you're just going to self-sabotage yourself if you do that.
I would just put a sticky note on it that says hey, I'm broke, but I'm also bald now. Just a FYI, I'm broke.
Just put white out on my scalp,
Well, and here's the thing that I've noticed as somebody outside of the acting community that knows a ton of actors, that is related to actors, it makes you look worse when you Photoshop your headshots. I can't count on all of my hands and toes and feet. How many people actually look worse in their headshot than they do in real life because they do so many filters and effects and blurs, and you're like, not only does this not look like you, it just doesn't, but I actually think you look better in person than you do in this headshot. Yeah, I've noticed that like time and time again. I'm like, that's not what they look like. They look so much better than that. It's so odd. So, you know, if you've got curly hair, take a curly haired one and a straight haired one. If you wear makeup, take a no makeup one and a makeup one. If you have long hair, take a long hair one, but the next time you have a haircut, maybe try a short hair one. You know, variety is important, but yeah, I thought that was important to bring up in case somebody didn't know what a headshot was.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend when you go. I mean, think about the what you want to play and what you typically get cast as, and how you can make yourself look like that character in that particular headshot. I recommend if you pay a professional photographer, or if you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with asking a friend who has a good quality camera to take some pictures for you. Lots of photographers who are just starting out themselves and need to build a portfolio. This is a perfect time for two artists to get together and help each other out. And to get a couple of looks. I usually get I get the nice guy look, like I'm it might be a comedy, or I'm like playing the best friend or something like that, and then there'll be sort of like the badass look, where maybe I'm wearing a black leather jacket and I'm trying to look, like a cop or something.
And here's my cool guy look.
Yeah, the cool
and
guy.
Here's my dad look.
Yeah. You want to get two or three and kind of put them in a little bit of a subcategory, but not like super specific, where it's like, this could only be one character and it's only going to work for one person.
And don't do it in front of a brick wall.
Yeah.
That's kind of old school.
That is a lot. Chicago especially had a ton of brick walls.
Well, because there's so many brick walls there, and we're all broke.
Yeah, right. You look out your back door, it's like, well, we got the alley.
Right. No, seriously, that's literally what. Yeah. And also, a quick note: I think it's important that people be realistic when they're auditioning. You're going to get rejected a lot less if you go for parts that you actually recognize that you qualify for. So, for example, like if I go to, I'm not going to get the part of the president of the United States, not because I'm a woman, but because without eyeliner on, I look like I'm 12. I mean, you've seen it, right? You've seen it firsthand. Like I recognize that, like I am more likely to get the part of the cheer captain of the high school than I am as the president of the United States. Like you can say all you want, like, no, audition, break down those barriers, like shatter that glass ceiling. No, they're just not going to call me back. They're just not going to call. If I audition for the part of someone's mom and the character is like 20, I'm not going to get that part.
Yeah.
Like you could say all you want, like ageism, like no break those. No, you're not going to break any barriers. You're just not going to get a call back. Like be realistic. Now, if I'm auditioning for the part of a girl who like runs an animal shelter, I'm getting that part. Like, look at me, I'm getting that part. Like I'm tailor-made for that part, right? Or if I'm like auditioning for the part of like some like rebel girl who like wants her parents to just like listen to her, it's not just a phase. I'm a lot more likely to get that part.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Knowing your type is like 75% of the battle. Owning
your type, right? Not just like resigning yourself to being like, well, I guess I look like someone's dad now, which is fucked up. No, own it. Be like, I'm someone's dad now.
Oh yeah. I when I lost the hair, when I went bald, all of a sudden, I used to, I don't know, it's been so long ago, it's hard to almost remember, like, what I had a bigger range of characters that I felt like I could play, and that I got cast as, when I had hair. And then when I lost the hair, it was like I was the slimy producer, the cop, People want to cast me as the cop all the time.
You do. You definitely look like, especially like if it's a play set in England or something, you look like a constable for sure.
Which I've grown the beard longer, when I didn't have facial hair, and I don't know, like having no hair, like cop / military type dude, / kind of like the slimy bad guy, those sorts of things. If I grow this out on the sides, then I look real creepy, So, and at first that really, that hurt. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't want to be pigeonholed in that. But then, I was like, well, but what I want more is to be cast than to be, the
Than to
male
have pride.
ingenue. Or, yeah, I swallowed that pride after a while. And then I was like, and honestly, I think it is a ton of fun to be the bad guy. I will totally play the bad guy.
Yeah, I had an actor break up with me once after like 2 months because he was so angry that he went to an audition and he was auditioning as my brother's dad. And my brother was like 25 at the time, or 26. And he was like, I'm not old enough to be your brother's dad. And he like totally freaked out. Don't be that guy. Embrace that. Like, you're telling me you could have been on stage playing like a really cool part, but you were like so hung up over the fact that you think you're like too young for that. No, they called you in specifically to audition for that part. Own it. Be like, yep, I'm this kid's dad. I'm old as fuck now. Like, but my joints are all sore. Yeah, like, oh, I don't know. But I say that having auditioned to play a waitress and applied to be a waitress in the same day and gotten neither jobs. So what do I know? That's why I'm interviewing.
Well, you just don't look like a waitress, Cindy.
I don't.
You just don't have a waitress look about you.
I don't look like a waitress. I look like the girl who's like writing in the coffee shop. That's what I look like. So speaking of which, I really want to know 2 things.
Uh-oh.
The worst audition you've ever done, and then the worst project you were ever cast in. Whether or not they're the same, I don't know, but I gotta know. Spill the tea.
Okay. So for the worst audition part, I got like 2 sort of stories that pop into mind. One was just embarrassing. It was just stupid. And it like I ended up, they gave me a lot of grace, and I guess it wasn't, but I still, like, sometimes I think about this and I totally fucking cringe. I'm just like, oh God.
Yes.
But okay, so I was auditioning for Marley in Christmas Carol, and the top of the script, they're like, Marley's coming into Scrooge's
I was gonna say, that's one of the ghosts, right?
Yeah, it's the first ghost that was his partner in life, and the guy with all the chains and shit. And so Marley's coming into Scrooge's chambers, and he has there's all this onomatopoeia type of ghostly noises that are all spelt out, like oh, like just O's, for days, and it's like whoa, all these ghostly noises. So I come in and I'm, being a ghost, and I'm making my ghostly noises, and anyway, then Scrooge, the guy who was auditioning we're doing this scene, and the guy who's auditioning for Scrooge was like, "Spirit, what do you want from me?" And and on the page it was like M, and then a long line of U's, CH.
Anal. sorry. I'm sorry.
Man, it's a totally different Christmas Carol.
That's the one you ended up doing for money.
Yeah, right. Oh man, and he's got 3 more spirits after that too.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, so it's M, this long line of U's, CH. The line is supposed to go like in every scene, in every Christmas Carol, it goes, "Spirit, what do you want from me?" And Marley says, "Much." And the way it was all spelt out with all this onomatopoeia, I was like, "Much." Everybody's like, what? It was an open audition, and they're like, take that back, and I did it again. And they're like, it's much, Travis.
I would have said, I would have accidentally said like mooch. I would have been like mooch. But what?
So that was just like, I was like, that was just like slap yourself on the forehead type of moment. And then then I had an audition for an agent that I really, really wanted so bad. It was a good agency and everything. And this was the first agency I'd ever auditioned for. And I went in, they'd called me in. I did some sort of cattle call, and there was like an intern of theirs that was out there in the audience, and they called me in to actually audition in front of the agent. And I don't know. They were asking me a lot about like you're into comedy, right? I think they were looking for comedy guys. They were looking for improv guys, and I had a comedic monologue, and it went really well on the cattle call that they called me in from. And so they were like, you're a comedy guy. And I was like, well, yeah, and I also do, I like doing dramas too, Anyway, I don't know. I did my pieces. I could feel that it didn't work too well. Like they weren't digging it. And I had no idea why. Still to this day, I did my monologues just as I had in the cattle call that got me in that room in the first place. And now I'm in front of the actual agent, and the comedic monologue fell fucking flat. It was just dead. And I remember the woman like taking my headshot and resume and kind of like flipping it over and looking at it very sort of, kind of down her nose at it. And she said it in like the most PC way she possibly could. But she basically asked me, she was like, so how did you get in here? And I was like, I don't know. You guys called me, and I was a little bit miffed, and I was like, fire that intern, I guess. But anyway, she was just very like, how did you get in here? I said that they called me in, and she was like, we'll let you know. And they let me know. I walked out of that office, and then they sent me a letter in the mail, the actual mail, to tell me thank you for your time, but you have been rejected. And I went home, and I think I got that letter the next day or the day after in the mail.
They're like, overnight this.
Yeah, send it to him immediately.
Make sure he gets this first thing in the morning. Priority shipping.
Like an old guy on a bicycle rides up, like telegram, and it's just like, oh my god. So they just hated me, and I had never been. And still to this day, I feel like I have auditioned badly. Like I had done the monologue and been like, God, I just fucked that up. Damn it. And I was beating myself up on the inside. And but the person across the table was polite. These people were rude, and just and so, but that only makes your skin thicker and it's all water under the bridge. So all in all, I'm glad those experiences that really suck and where you just fall flat on your face, they're really nice. And after you get over it, after it's done,
after you heal and eat some carbs,
after you lick your wounds, everything's okay, because the next time you're like, well, shit, I can't do that bad ever.
Right,
again.
I can't do worse than that. So
yeah, so I've got nothing left to lose. So that's kind of nice.
The last acting thing I ever auditioned for, this was years ago. A friend had gotten me this audition. He's like, yeah, it's just like a small bit part, but I really think you do well. So I show up, and the first thing I noticed is that none of the other actresses outside the audition are wearing makeup, and I've got my makeup on. I've got cat eye going. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go in and I give him my headshot and my resume, and so they set up the camera. It was for a web series, so it was all on camera. And they're like, okay, so read the lines and go. And so it was something like, I was playing a waitress and it was something like, oh, like order up on table 3 or something like that. And I was like, oh, order up table 3. And there's like a long silence and the director's like, okay, do it again, but do it like you really mean it. Do it like you mean it, right? And I was like, oh, okay, order up table 3, and something like, and don't forget the French fries next time or something. She had like some attitude. And so I was like, oh, order up table 3 and don't forget the French fries next time. And they were like, okay, try it again, but try it with like, try it with like attitude. And I was like, okay, like order up table 3 and don't forget the French fries this time. And he's like, okay, and there's a long pause and I can hear him flipping over a piece of paper. I can't see him. There's all these lights on me. And he goes, I notice on your resume that you've only ever played yourself for like 10 years. And I go, if you look at the very bottom, in high school, I did play the monkey ruler in Jungle Book. And he's like,
hire this woman.
Yeah, and he's like, huh, okay, thank you so much. There's a whole lot of like and going on. And
okay.
when I walk out of the room thinking I did fine, I was like, whatever, that wasn't great, but I did okay. My friend who got me the audition goes, you know what? That's okay. And I was like, that bad, huh?
Yeah.
No. Like, I didn't even think it went that bad, but he was like already apologizing to me and like patting me on the shoulder and stuff when I was
all right.
Yep.
Don't let it get you down.
Right. So that's why I fund everything that I act in now, because you can't reject me if I'm the one who's paying for it and wrote it. So tell me about the worst project you've ever been a part of, or like 2 if there's 2.
Okay.
And if my brother was in charge of them, you can still say so. You can still.
There was a play that I did, and it was one of the first plays that happened at the Den. Like
back when it was just that staircase.
Yeah, when it was just a staircase. Well, it wasn't one of the first plays that ever happened at the Den, but like they were just starting to add a bunch of theater spaces, and we were the first play to happen in this brand new one that they had just built. And anyway, I'll just say this: it was a play about colonialization. It was an original play. I played one of the people in the tribe on the island.
No.
Yeah.
You did not.
Yeah, I did. Sadly, very sadly, I did. The justification of this was like that where this took place was never defined. The people who were how do you say that? They're building a colony on this island.
Colonizing?
Colonizing, yeah. Their nationality was never defined. It was all very ambiguous. And I remember the reviews came out and they were like, I don't know what this play means. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what you're trying to say. And why are these indigenous islanders a bunch of white kids? Like why? And I was just like, I look back on that and I'm just like, oh my God, very, very ashamed of that show.
I feel like we've all got one of those where we're like, this would get me canceled if it ever resurfaced.
Oh my God. Yeah, I hope those production photos have been burned. Because it is me wearing a loincloth, carrying a spear. It's just like, it is bad. It is bad. So I hope to God that it's been burned and buried and it never resurfaces. And it's crazy that it even got made in the first place.
It even got produced. Yeah. Yep. No, that makes sense. What is, if you could give us a one or two of the best pieces of acting advice you've ever gotten, what would you say those were, or maybe who you got them from or something?
Um,
Or if you could give advice, maybe it's like straight from you.
Performance wise, or let's see, if it is performance wise, I think it's the best piece of acting advice. Uh, the best piece of acting, and it's so damn simple that it seems dumb, but truthfully, and I hope it doesn't. I hope this doesn't even come off pretentious. It's so
No, I
simple.
asked.
Uh, I think it's about listening. I think it's about. I don't think you need to. I mean, do your research, study your lines, know them backwards and forwards, and just fucking listen to your partner. If you will do that, almost all the job is done for you. I thought I did that, and I guess to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, uh, take some improv classes, because um, for me it was like I thought I was listening, um, but it was really hard um, not to come up with preconceived notions of how to deliver this line, how to do this, because it's all right there on the page. And then I took some improv classes, and because in that situation, there's nothing you can do, but like you were zeroed in, like tuned into your partner, because whatever they say, that's all the direction you have. That's all the suggestion that you get to guide you through this. And so in improv, I was like, oh, holy shit. I never was really listening in acting scenes,
So you mean
because
like your scene partner?
yeah, listen to
Although
your
you should always
scene.
listen to your partner too.
Yeah,
That's good advice
yes,
too. But
that's
your
right.
scene partner.
That's right. Your scene partner, focus more on what they're saying to you versus what you're going to say next. And I think that the acting will come a lot easier if you do that.
Interesting. So just kind of take cues from who you're working with and
Mm-hmm.
like play off their energy and their
Yeah, I mean, if you
behaviors.
know your lines backwards and forwards, and they deliver the line, because like if anytime you're in a scene, in a rehearsal process, and your scene partner delivers a line to you differently than they ever had before, and you as the actor are like, whoa, now I can't do my thing the way I was going to do it, because you didn't set me up to spike it like you normally do. That's a problem. You're not reacting organically to what they're saying and what they're doing. They should be able to go anywhere, uh, anywhere in that scene that makes some justifiable sense, and you should be able to play back with that. It's not about doing this thing like it's a choreographed dance. It's just like an improv. It's about that ping pong thing, and you can only use what you just heard, and you can only use that if you're actually listening.
That's good. I like that. That's not what I thought you were going to say at all. When you were like, I hope this doesn't sound pretentious. I thought you were going to be like, be me. Be as good like me. Just be good. I didn't expect it to be like actually like genuine, solid, fantastic advice.
Okay.
What is an important lesson that acting has taught you outside of acting? Like, what is something that you learned as an actor that you have then taken with you in life kind of outside?
I think it's that it is there are a million ways to look at life, and there are a million ways to deal with any scenario that life throws at you. I think some of that is trying to get inside a character's mind, and then some of that is dealing with the people that are on stage. Like, you know, when you do table work, you'll read the same material and somebody will come out of it with a totally different angle. So I think that has taught me that human beings are endlessly complex, and what you're never ever going to have, and there is no right answer, so you're never going to have the right answer. So it's about understanding. It's about having empathy for your fellow human beings, because if you meet enough people and you try to put you try to walk in other people's shoes enough, you'll realize how complicated life is, and so it's important to be sympathetic and empathetic and understanding to the rest of the people that you share this world with.
That's good. Dang, you're like nailing these like last questions. What is your favorite part about being an actor or being involved in theater or just acting in general? And then what's your least favorite? What's something that just like does not get better?
You know, I really like, and I think also if you and somebody told me this in college, they're like, acting is a ton of hard work for like a little bit of reward. You know, you're gonna spend time all by yourself memorizing. You're gonna spend a shit ton of hours rehearsing, and then you get to the good stuff. If you don't like that, if you don't like the work, and you'll say you try this, you get into it, you love the performing. Like once you get past all that damned rehearsal, it's fun. But oh my God, the work is just torture. I don't think this is a good line of work for you. Like,
This is not
you,
that's
yeah,
solid advice.
you really need to love it. And I think for me, it is like, I love that rehearsing shit where you do a scene and you do it 20 times, and then the 21st time you discover something new
See,
in
that's
it.
how I know I'm not an actress. Is that sounds like god awful to me. I'm like,
Oh, I love that. I love that like itty bitty gritty detail stuff. Like at the 21st time, like whoa, like it opens up a whole new thing. You're like, wow, I never looked at it that way, and like all of that stuff, I think is a lot of fun. And I also like, I guess I kind of look at it. I guess I approach things a little bit like a technician in some ways. I love that shit, especially with comedy. I remember I was doing this children's theater show, and I discovered that there was this line that sometimes I would get a laugh and sometimes I wouldn't. And I did this. It was a long tour, and I don't know how many performances of the show we did. And so I was like trying to figure out. I was like, man, I don't know if it's the audience or the way I'm saying it, or the setup, or what is it that sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. And then I discovered that if I said the line and then looked at my scene partner after saying the line, 100% of the time it would get a laugh. And yeah, like
weird.
it was all about the look afterwards. And so those little tricks and things like that you discover after doing it a gajillion times, I love those discoveries.
I'm a stand-up comedian. I like discovering things when it's too late to go back and change them. Like, oh, this worked this time, yay! Or oh, that didn't work, too late. Never doing this show again. Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, that was all the questions that I had for you tonight.
Okay.
So thank you so much for your insight and your talent. If people could kind of take away just one thing from tonight, if you're like they remember absolutely nothing else, but have them remember this about acting, what would you say?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Um, yeah, one thing about acting that is the takeaway. Uh, I think I think if there's anything that I wish like I would have taken away, and this is maybe not the most interesting thing, because like I think it's fun to talk about the art form and stuff. That's where that's what's really interesting about it. But then there's also but when you talk about the business, it gets kind of yeah. You got that? Like I got yeah. Look at that double chin,
dude. I used to win that game. My brother and I would play that game as a kid. Like who could make the most chins? I always won. Like I've got an elastic. I've got like some elasticity going on under here.
Yeah, and you've got a nice like chiseled jawline and everything, but then like it's amazing. Look at that thing.
I'm like those snakes. They like eat the egg and like their giant chin just like comes out.
Yeah, I would if I was going to talk to somebody like a freshman class of kids that were going to be in theater, I would be like, it is all about the networking. It is all about going out there. There's so much work that you do off stage in order to get on stage.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
And I think that not a lot. We don't talk about that because it's not that much fun, and it's not like something that you can really be taught in class.
No.
You just have to go out there and meet as many people as you can. And I remember being like, oh God, I think I'm horrible at that sort of shit, and I don't want to do it. And you mentioned something earlier about how you would go and you try to introduce yourself and meet people, and you would be so nervous, your hands are sweating and blah blah blah. A little trick that I tell myself in order to like take the pressure off of myself is that especially in Chicago, it's a small community. This is not going to be bad. I can see the expression on your face. Like, what is he going to say?
Say jerking off.
Yeah. Yeah. I just go to the bathroom. I rub one out. I come out. I am so much cooler. but no. Don't think of that first meeting, that first introduction as the end all be all. This is the first one, and they're going to meet you again and again and again and again. Whether they like it or not. And
whether they are happy about it as you are.
Yeah. They're going to come home. They're going to go to their coat closet. You're going to be right in there. And so, but yeah, they're going to see you a bunch of times, and you're going to you will have the opportunity to make an impression again and again and again. And so there's not nearly as much weight on this one moment.
That's awesome. That's a really good point, because art is scenes, right? It's like scenes, it's communities. You will see the same people over and over and over again. So it's great because you have, like you said, multiple times to kind of make a good impression, but it sucks if you are like beefing with somebody, or you don't like somebody, or somebody's like a total creep, because you're going to see them too. Like you're going to see, it goes both ways.
Tread lightly. I mean, don't just totally fuck it up the first time.
Right. Like there is a point you cannot come back from. Like that's not what we're saying.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your answers and your excellent advice and your expertise. And I hope
thank you, Sydney, for inviting me. I was very flattered.
You're welcome. Well, you told me I had a chiseled chin, so it was all worth it for me. Like that was all I was here for. It was just like the flattery. So I'm gonna take that to bed with me tonight and be like, she said I had a chisel. Yeah.
See, I didn't have much of a chin, and that's why I grew the beard. The chin I love. Like I can grow any kind of chin I want now.
I honestly forget like you ever didn't have a beard. It's like shocking to me to think of, even though I knew you, like I knew you and I saw you, that you didn't have a beard, because it's like such a part of you now.
Yeah, it's I don't want to see myself without a beard, because I know it's going to be like the baby face will still be there, and I'll be real disappointed about it.
Well, all right.
Well,
interview's over.
Good night.
Good night.